I'm a mother. I have 5 children. Everybody knows me. I'm a wife. I'm from Lund. So I'm quite happy to be here today. Most of my family knows me as a perpetual student. I started school at the age of 5, and I'm still in school today. With an exemption of some 6 years there, where I had to build a family. I had my mother who was very ill, terminally ill, that I had to take care of. So in my CV, there's a 6-year gap there, in case you wonder. I started my academic journey in Kenya. I did a Bachelor of Education. Then I came to Sweden. I did a nursing degree because I'll explain later why. I had a master's in public health, a master's in media and communication for development. And at the moment I'm doing the PhD in applied health technology. It's the first program of its kind. I was the first candidate to register. And I'll explain. I'm normally the first in so many things. Normally, not very good idea, but I've worked very, very briefly as a high school teacher, nurse, researcher, technical advisor, project manager, and so on. Now, may I present to you this phenomenal woman who has shaped my life in many, many, many ways. Hawa Ali Warsame. Hawa Ali Warsame is probably the story, her story is probably the story of many mothers of her time, many women, Somali women of her time. Life was not fair to her. She was born an orphan. Her father died before she was born. Her mother died in childbirth. At the age of 6, her sister took her in and raised her. But at the age of 6, she was removed from madrasa because there was nobody else to fetch the water. So, as many orphans, you're kind of displaced. And at the age of 12, she was too rowdy for her sister to keep up with, so she was shipped off to her uncle. And that was quite a lark because her uncle was quite well off. He had a farm. He had a lot of workers. She didn't have to fetch the water. And she got to be a child for the first time in her life. She could play, but she didn't have any playmates. There were no girls outside. The only people she could play with were boys. But at 12, at that time, she was too old to be outside playing with the boys. So what happened? The community was not very happy with this girl who's outside playing and climbing trees. They forced her uncle to marry her off. At the age of 15, she got married. Hawa was not one to be kept, in shackles. She had her own mind. So at the age of 16, she kind of fled from home. And she was never seen, actually. People heard of her when she was 18. She had established, she had a business, worked between Zambia and Zimbabwe and Tanzania. She didn't come back home until the age of 30, because by that time, her favorite brother called her home. He was ill, and he wanted her to take care of his daughter, because his health was failing him. So, she was given this daughter to raise. Hawa had become, the rebel had become a mom. And everybody was very doubtful. Why did he choose her? Why not all the other aunties who were there? She was the wrong person to entrust a child. So, but Hawa took this challenge quite to heart. And that daughter is standing in front of you today. Her only sorrow. Her only sorrow was that she never got an education. So education became her mantra. Education, 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 and education. I grew up very privileged. I went to an all-white school with a few Indians, British curriculum. And most of you are talking about racism being in Sweden, but I actually faced racism in Africa. And I was quite shocked the first day of school. You're just reporting, you know, we used to be called monos. You're reporting, and this is a British boarding school. I'm sure you've heard all the stories. And you have the prefect, and you have the monitors, and what have you, and then you have the monos who are supposed to be groomed and kicked, and you know. But I wouldn't take that. I'm Howard's daughter. So I beat up a boy the first day of school, just before my mom left the school compound. And I was told, because he called me, he just made a racist remark, and I couldn't take it. And I didn't know how else to answer it, because I've never faced that before. I was called to the headmaster. My mom was meant to turn back, go to our headmaster's office, and the headmaster, Mr. Williams, I remember him, and he said, we don't beat boys in this school. So I asked Chiki, do you beat girls? Yeah? And he said, no, here we speak. You know, we have a dialogue. No, not if somebody calls me such a name, and I won't repeat it. Anyway, just to show my Africanism and all that, I decided to get a haircut. And you're not allowed, you know, in these British schools, you're supposed to have your hair well combed and all that. And again, my mom was called. And she said that she had to like go to the headmaster again and again. And there was the issue of choosing subjects. Girls would choose needlework, boys would choose mechanical drawing. But it wasn't written anywhere in the school that girls are supposed to do this and boys are supposed to do that. So I chose mechanical drawing. And the headmaster said, no, you can't choose mechanical drawing because you're supposed to choose needlework. And I said, why? And he said, that's the way it is. We have a history. You know, this school has been in existence for more than 85 years, and you can't change that. I said, but there's no document about it. So my mom was called again. And by the time she went out, she always supported me. And then she went out and she looked at me and she said, Mohammed Kari Fashe, or something. Yeah? And translating that, why do you need to be a mechanic? Because she didn't understand the whole concept of mechanical drawing. So she said, why do you want to be a dirty mechanic? I'm paying a lot of money in this school. Anyway, so she challenged me all the way in every step. University, I wanted to be a lawyer. Guess what? They're liars. I didn't get to do that. I chose theatre arts. Theatre arts, what do you do? A combo, you know? Do you remember that? No, you don't do that. You have to do something. I didn't have the brains to do medicine, so it's hard to be beard. Yeah, and then fast forward, in 1995, I landed in Sweden. And then, of course, quite young, 20s, early 20s, with a degree, feeling quite excited. And then I'm told, now you can't get a job as a teacher. Nobody's going to give you a job as a teacher. No, why? I have a degree. And they go, no, then you have to school. You have to do something else. So I went to nursing because that's where the jobs were. I was the first nurse with a head cover. I had just decided to take up to put on a head cover, you know, that was quite a coincidence. And they told me, no, we can't have you, you know. That's dangerous for the patients, it's dangerous for you because they can strangle you. Okay. And it's unhygienic, they tell me. But anyway, I fought through that too. And then placement. You know, remember that guy in high school? That demon kept on coming up all the time, you know. So I understand when Jason says that he had his fist up. That's how I felt all the time when I was doing my placement. No? The other one? Yeah. And I kept on hearing the patient saying, send me a real nurse. What they meant was a Swedish nurse. So I decided, okay, I can't take this anymore. I went out, worked with some projects and so on and so on. I got a job at the university. And then during my interview, the lady says, you know, people are not used to people like you here. So how are you going to deal with that? I'm like, I'm not used to fat people. That's a tough one. And no, you know what I mean. But I wanted her to say it. And she said, no, I know, by the way, Blekinge is such a tiny, tiny region. There are not so many, right now there is actually immigrants. But at that time there wasn't. And until last year, I was the only immigrant descent in the department. So now we have a Spanish lady. Anyway, and then I was supposed to be registered at the Karolinska Institute in medicine for my PhD. And they decided, yeah, we kind of thought about it, and then we decided, you know, there's a need actually to have technology and health incorporate that, because I've been working a lot with internet-based programs for the youth. And they said, yes, let's form a program. And we came up with applied health technology to bring up health sciences and technology engineering. And they said, would you like to be the first candidate? I said, yeah, to hell with Karolinska. So I registered. So I could go on about all the injustices and all the barriers